Hey, good evening, everyone. How are we doing this evening?
There she is.
There's Jackie.
Hi, everyone. So this is our live Q&A tonight. We're going to be here till about 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. I know some of you will come and go, but be sure to start putting those questions in over there. I know we're starting to get some. We've got myself tonight. We've got Jackie tonight. We've got Blake tonight. We've got Chris. Missing Ashley tonight. She's not feeling good, so we're going to go ahead and do this without her. But welcome, everybody. We appreciate everybody coming on. We're here to help you guys answer your questions, hopefully. So with that, before we do some questions, we're going to get into the little bit of the lingo here, and then we're going to do a fun game. So stand by. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and read this to everybody. So the live Q&A disclaimer: VA claims veterans helping veterans is not an accredited agent, VSO, attorney, or entity recognized by the Department of Veterans Affairs, and is not affiliated with the VA in any way. We do not assist veterans with the preparation, presentation, and prosecution of VA disability claims for VA benefits. This Q&A is solely for guidance purposes and should not be considered as medical or legal advice. All right, with that out of the way, I thought while we're waiting for some questions, so I know we're going to start getting some questions, we're going to play this fun little game. It's called, What is Wrong with This Nexus? Now, all of us know what's wrong with this Nexus. But let's see if any of you guys can figure out what's wrong with this Nexus. So I'm going to pop it up, and I'm going to give you guys a second. It's very short. It's just a little section right there. And let me see if I can get us in. Oh, wait, let me put that back.
And the finger is only covering the patient's name.
Correct.
Cue Jeopardy music.
So what I want you guys to do is read from where my finger is below. Tell us what you think is wrong with this Nexus. And we'll give you a few minutes to look this over. Put your answer in the comment section, and then we'll briefly tell you what's wrong with it. But it's pretty.
And the winner gets a pat on the back.
And yeah, and don't go with these people that buy Nexus letters. So does anybody have any idea? I know you guys are on there. Any idea what's wrong with this Nexus letter? Because this is really important, guys, when you're going out there.
Tell us in the comments.
Put it in the comment section. Tell us what you think is wrong with this Nexus. Because
this is what people are paying for.
This is what you as veterans are paying for this. We got a winner.
Ding, ding, ding.
Cabbage Street Kennels. Yes, you are right. So the problem with this Nexus is
Cut and paste. Cut and paste.
Cut and paste. Jackie, what else? What's wrong with this?
Everything? I mean,
everything?
Okay, so I'll actually read it now. So clearly it's listed in the wrong conditions. There's no rationale. There's nothing tying anything to Tara.
Right. And
there's like really no opinion. I mean, it's garbage. I wouldn't even set her on fire.
Right. And the problem with these guys is people are paying for these Nexuses, hundreds, even thousands of dollars. They're cut and paste. You as the veteran are not looking at your Nexus and you're submitting it like this. So just a quick tip and we'll get on with this.
If I remember right, this veteran paid what? Close to $1,500 for this?
Yes.
I remember this, yeah.
Yes, 15, exactly. Yep. And basically, what we're trying to tell you guys is we have videos on IMO and Nexuses, so be sure to check that out on our YouTube channel. It's a 3-part series. Blake was involved with it. It's great. In our Facebook group, Blake's got a great post on this as well. Just if you're going to go out and get a Nexus and you feel like you have to pay for it, please read them. Please make sure you know what your Nexus letter says before you submit it to the VA, because this veteran found out after the fact. So you are your own best advocate.
You might as well read it, right?
Huh?
You pay for it, you might as well read it.
Right. And you don't really need anything, to substantiate that. And Chris, I'm going to need you to come in here to the office because I did something with my screen. I don't know what I did wrong.
In the comments, one of the Facebook users asked, can a Nexus come from your primary care physician? That is the best place to get one from.
Chris, we're going to have to take just a minute. Sorry, guys. We're going to have a technical difficulty. Jackie's way up. Well, yeah, depending where it's from, too. You can get one from your private physician. But, Blake, explain to people about just putting it in your medical records.
Right. Just simply ask your physician, in your medical opinion, is this condition caused by or aggravated by this other condition? And if they say yes, say, would you please document it in those words in my chart and give your medical rationale as to why you believe that. That's a Nexus right there. And it's already in your records. They don't have to write a separate letter.
I think I'll just emphasize a lot of the private physicians and whatnot, they'll think that just writing that something is more likely or not due to this or that or the other thing.
And again, a Nexus doesn't have to be a letter.
We need the rationale. We all need a rationale to tie it together. If we're going to get a private opinion, whether it be your private doctor, somebody you're going to pay, somebody a nurse, it doesn't matter, but they have to put a rationale. If there's no rationale, it doesn't matter what they say because there's no facts that support the conclusion.
How many of you go to the doctor, and if the doctor says to treat your condition, you need to stand in the corner on your head for 3 hours a day, and he doesn't tell you why, and you go, okay, I'll do that. Or if the doctor says, just because I said so, I'm the doctor. That doesn't float. Neither does this is what I say. This is, it's caused by this because I'm the doctor. That doesn't fly.
Right. But a lot of times we'll see, sorry, Steph. A lot of times we'll see the doctors will just regurgitate the medical history. A lot of times VA already has that. They need a rationale. They need like the reasons and the basis for the decision. It needs to hold up and support the conclusions that the doctor comes to. If it doesn't, it doesn't do anything.
And the problem too.
Did Blake already say this? But if you go to your actual physician, they actually know you. Instead of going to these people you pay for where they see you once, copy and paste a bunch of stuff, and then send you on your way.
And to jump off of that, a lot of times doctors don't want to write a Nexus. And again, what Blake said and what's in our videos on YouTube is you don't need an actual letter. You can get this in your medical records. It's not hard to do, guys. But we just wanted to show you that because there's so many veterans out there paying for these. And it's so imperative if you're going to pay for these to at least read them and see the discrepancies in them because most of them are cut and paste templates anyways, and you're wasting all your money with these.
They've essentially written this letter once, and they're sending they're charging $1,000 to send it out 100 times.
I think I would also like to add, so the VA gets these opinions and they're garbage, and then the veteran automatically thinks, oh my God, my crappy private DBQ worked. No, it didn't. They still sent it for another medical opinion. It just came back favorable. That medical opinion was garbage and it did nothing. You wasted all that money. VA still sent out for another opinion and it just turned out that it was favorable that time to the veteran. So a lot of times when they get these private opinions, it's really, even when they say, oh yeah, I got service connection, a lot of times it's not because of that private medical opinion. It's because the VA sent them for another medical opinion because the medical opinion that they paid for was garbage.
So with that being said, we're going to move on, but we just wanted to show that to you guys in the beginning, just to show you about that. Again, watch the videos. They're helpful. Come join the Facebook group and get some more helpful information as well. We're here till 9:30, like I said, Eastern time. Unless we run out of questions, then we're out of here. But with that being said, please join our Facebook group, VA Claims Veterans Helping Veterans. We have over 40,000 members. We have a great group, close-knit. We monitor it heavily all the time, 24/7, 365 days a year. Our group is not about getting 100%. So if that's what you're looking for, you're in the wrong group. We are all about getting what you deserve. And we have a YouTube channel, as you know. Please be sure to subscribe to that. Follow us. We have lives twice a month. And we also have a lot of informational videos out there that are good for you. We're working on our latest one, hopefully to drop here soon. All right. With that being said, I guess we'll go ahead and get into questions, right, Chris?
Yeah, we'll start with your four-parter. I'm going to
Yep,
pop
we
off.
got a
I don't need to be
four-parter.
on here, so
Okay.
it'll be a little bit.
All right. All right. This is from Sharon Graver. She put this in earlier. If the VA has all medical records from a first claim, why did we get a request to complete forms to release records from private medical records when it's the same records? I mailed them and told them, page 2, that they have records. Well, I think that's part of it. They have records. They got a letter saying in 30 days they can decide claim if they don't hear from us with evidence. How else can I say that they have evidence from the first claim? I filed for stroke secondary to hypertension, CAD, and diabetes, already service connected. Residuals include partial loss of use of right arm and hand. Must use left now to write and eat. Is this considered SMC for loss of limb? Also express aphasia, trouble communicating. How can this be rated since I see no rating? Thank you. All right, guys, we kind of had this one pre-populated, so we've kind of got a little bit of answers here. I'm going to answer one, then Blake, and then we're going to go to Jackie. So as Blake and I were discussing, the records can sometimes be altered by the veteran. It happens, which is why the VA will go and get the medical records from the medical facilities sometimes. Jackie's shaking her head. She can answer on that. Go. Well, I guess what our thought process, and then touch in, is they can be altered, but sometimes the VA will still request them, maybe if they're missing or they don't have everything.
Most physicians won't take hand-carried records.
Yeah.
So it's not that they suspect the veterans committed fraud unless it's like clearly evident in the record. So it's more that the veteran indicated that there may be more records than what is received. So sometimes veterans handpick what they want the VA to see. So they'll send incomplete records, or sometimes when their doctors send the records in, there'll be indications that they're incomplete.
That's what we were talking about. Missing pages.
So if that's the case, then yes, VA is probably going to go out and request your records again. Additionally, if some time has passed, so clearly time has passed since you first placed your claim and then your subsequent, I'm assuming, appeal. So there's new records that potentially could be a record because you already identified that you're getting treatment from a private physician. So that's why they're going out for records, like you indicated that they exist. So yes, you can let VA know that they already have them, but VA has that duty to assist. So you can't pick and choose when it's beneficial for you to have the VA fulfill that obligation. So they're going to do it regardless.
You need to go.
A lot of veterans will send just snippets.
Right.
Go ahead, Blake.
You need to go to your private physician and fill out a request for medical records to be sent to the VA directly from them, and to have them send the entire record.
And we're going to try and go through this because it's a long one. We've got a lot of questions piling up. Second thing, loss of use versus loss of limb. Now, obviously a loss of limb is it's been amputated. So it's not a loss of limb because that's what she said. It could potentially be a loss of use, correct or incorrect?
Correct.
Jackie?
Yep.
Okay.
So if the impairment is as if it was like the lamb is equivalent as if the part of the body would have been amputated. So if it's the equivalent of an amputation, but you still have a limb that's useless or a part of the body that's useless, that is when you may potentially qualify for the SMC for loss of use.
Okay, and then let's touch on the aphasia rateable. Why don't you go ahead and talk on that, Jackie, because I know you looked that up before.
So the aphasia, so it's not in the rating schedule, so it would be rated analogously. So essentially, it's going to depend. So I know that you said when you were giving us the facts of your case that you were having difficulty communicating verbally and in writing, which would lead me to believe that they would most likely need to be, wait, come on, I'm trying to keep a straight face here. This is serious.
That was actually me.
Oh my God. So they're trying to make me laugh. So I apologize. So I think it would most likely be evaluated if those are the predominant symptoms under something similar to like a neurocognitive disorder, which would essentially be evaluated under mental. But it's just speculation and a guess. I don't have access to your medical records, and I don't know what other manifestations or residuals that you're experiencing due to stroke. So I can only kind of take an educated guess in that regard.
Okay. All right. So we're going to move on. So basically, recap, Jackie answered why medical records are pretty much requested by the VA. Blake and touched on that as well. We kind of gave you the difference between loss of use and loss of limb. And then Jackie gave you on the rating. So I hope that helps. If you have any other questions, Sharon, please feel free to email us. And Chris will pop up our email. Somebody's typing very heavily. Chris, can you pop up our email real quick? So Sharon, if you have any other questions on this or need to add to it, please feel free to email us. Anytime you do send us information, please redact all personal information when sending it to us in email. All right, and with that, moving on, we'll go to the next question. Guys, stand by. We do have a lot of questions. They will get answered, so just bear with us. And
Okay, so I'm trying to put this Dort C together. He had posted earlier and then had something coming down.
Okay.
So we'll start with this.
I had a sleep study at home and found to have hypoxia. How do you say that?
Hypoxia.
Hypoxia.
1/3 of the time, I'm on home oxygen at night and secondary to cardiac mental health, ? Okay, part 2. I have reflux noted on scope and trouble swallowing noted on imaging. Could I file secondary to daily intractable migraine meds?
Okay, he's got a third part down here.
Sleep study at home shows that I have hypoxia 1/3 of the time and ordered nocturnal oxygen after cardiologist discussion with pulmonologist. They won't explain what's going on. Service connected for cardiac. So it sounds like he's service connected for cardiac.
Yeah.
You want to put that back up?
But then he's asking about mental health, and then he's asking about something else. Blake, are you
There's a lot
catching this?
going on here.
All right, let's start with the first part.
Okay, so you had a sleep study at home. I think he's asking, can he do this secondary to cardiac or maybe mental health?
Now the migraine meds, no, but I would say that the reflux, depending on what the migraine med is, first of all, if you're taking ibuprofen for your migraines, number one, it's not a migraine med. Number two, it's not that could cause the reflux. Other migraine meds, I'm not so sure. I'd have to do a little looking up, but I don't, off the top of my head, I don't think that they are secondary to reflux. They cause reflux. The migraines could be from the hypoxia. That's a very, very good, if migraines are not service related. I'm not sure what cardiac mental health is.
Okay. Jackie, anything on the...
Yeah, if you don't mind, Chris, there's just so much going on there. Do you mind?
Yeah, what do you need? Which one do you want to pop back up or start from the
Let's
beginning?
go with the first one first.
Okay.
All right. So you have sleep study at home, find to have hypoxia on the time. So do you have sleep apnea? So hypoxia it's not like evaluated with the sleep apnea. Do they think that's due to the sleep apnea? Or do they think that's due to the cardiac condition? Like,
More than likely, the hypoxia is secondary to his sleep apnea. Now the question is the sleep apnea?
well, well, if you think it's due to sleep apnea, I mean, like if that makes sense, then
That's just a sleep study. We don't even know. Does he have sleep? Did he mention anything
Right.
about having sleep apnea?
He doesn't say anything about sleep apnea, nor is it, or if it is service connected.
maybe he can resubmit the question and put it all together and make it.
Let's do
flow
this
a little bit
because
better.
we got a lot of questions. Dort, Chris is going to pop up and put in the chat. Chris, why don't you go ahead and put in the chat the email? And Dort, if you would follow up an email to us so we can get a better understanding of what you're trying to accomplish.
Send us what your diagnoses are.
What you're rated, rated for.
What you're rated for, what is service connected, and what
Yes.
you're trying to do in a claim.
And redact all your personal information as well.
Please redact information.
Yes, please.
You're sending us documents. We can't do anything with it. You have to redact your information.
Yes, please. Yes, please, and thank you. All right, Dort, so go ahead and do that if you're on. Email us, and we'll be happy to help you. Okay, next question.
All right, bye.
Bye. All right, Facebook user. I am service connected for tinnitus at 10% and having severe migraines about 6 to 8 times a month. I went to the VA on the 22nd of September and was prescribed some meds and CT scan coming up on the 27th of October. I started an ITF in August, but haven't completed it as of yet. That's what an ITF is. Just want to make sure moving in the right direction. I have no medical file supporting any disability. I completed the CMP exam back on April 2023. Hello and thank you. Well, what kind of jumps out at me, and then I'll let you two jump in, is it looks like you're potentially wanting to go down the road of filing migraines secondary to tinnitus. So if that's the case, you need to show the causation of the tinnitus causing the migraines and obviously have the migraine diagnosis currently in chronic issues. If you're trying to go down service as in primary for migraines, either you're going to have had it primary and service or potentially under the undiagnosed migraine headache under the Gulf War. And then I'll let you two jump in. That's what jumped out at me on that. That's
the same thing. I think you are going down the right track, but if you're trying to claim it secondary to the tinnitus, then that's something you need to discuss. That's a prime example of where you need to keep a detailed migraine log. You need to say what the symptoms were prior to, that it was a quiet room. The tinnitus kept you awake, whether or not it's you're sleep deprived from the tinnitus. You need to find out what is causing the migraines or causing your headaches. You need to discuss that with your physician. You need to give them as much information as you possibly can. You need to document how often, the intensity, what makes them better, what makes them worse, what treatments you've had for them, including all the medications, what goes on. Does your vision change? Does your hearing change? Do you feel like you're down inside of a metal tube? That you're hearing? All that needs to be documented. It all needs to be turned into your physician. That all needs to be in your medical record. You have a year from your intent to file to get all that together and in there before you need to file the claim if you want to file a fully matured claim. Jackie?
Wait, should he submit the ITF though?
Yes.
Weird. So
Doesn't
she said that she started the ITF, which indicates to me she hasn't put it in. So that's what jumped out to me. Get the ITF in. It takes 5 minutes online. Or 5 minutes.
She didn't submit it.
What are you doing?
You didn't submit it? I started an ITF, but I haven't completed. That's correct. She put the ITF in and
well, it's a he.
It doesn't say she put the ITF in. It says she started it. So first of all, your first step should be to get that in, yesterday.
Yeah.
And then go ahead and start
Well, I think
gathering the evidence.
I
to support
disagree.
the claim.
I think the ITF is in, it hasn't been completed, meaning they haven't finished the claim under the ITF. But in any event, Jackie, if you're right and you're listening to us,
You've wasted a month. If Jackie's
you need to save the ITF because the ITF needs to be in a placeholder for a year. So Jackie is correct on that. If I'm correct and you've already got the ITF in place, then yes, leave it alone. Go back in there and finish the claim once you're ready to. But go ahead, Jackie, finish up on the migraines.
Oh, I mean, you guys kind of nailed it with the medical stuff. So, you know, that's tinnitus isn't a likely, like a very common etiology for headaches. So,
it is for headaches.
Well,
it is
migraines.
not for migraines.
Migraines. All right.
All headaches are not migraines, and not all migraines are
make
headaches.
sure that you get enough evidence to support your claim. Just because you believe there's correlation doesn't mean there's causation.
So, you know, that brings up a good topic. Then if somebody's trying to do it for tinnitus as secondary, Blake, then they should be saying headaches secondary to tinnitus, not migraines.
Right.
That's a very good notation, guys. If you're listening, you should be submitting if they're headaches, because like Jackie said, migraines are different. Headache, even though they're rated under the same rating of 8100, headaches and migraines have different. So that's a very good point you pointed out, Blake, if they're going to go the route of tinnitus. So just to recap, make sure the ITF is in place. You have up to 1 year to file under it. Make sure you've got the evidence to support the secondary if that's the way you're going towards tinnitus. If you're trying to go a primary route, then you're going to need other evidence to support it primary.
Now, if the tinnitus is causing you not to sleep, lack of sleep is a documented causation for migraines.
Okay. All right, next question. I have 40% for my back and radiculopathy in my legs. I have an x-ray that shows I have degenerative disc disease that is progressing. I'm at 90% right now, so you leave it alone.
Yeah.
40% is like one of the highest ratings for your back.
Yeah, that's as high.
Unless he's talking about combined for the back and radiculopathy in the legs is 40%. But either way, so it doesn't matter how many compressed discs you have in your back or how severe it is. That's not how it's evaluated. Back is, the lumbar spine is evaluated based on range of motion or limitation of motion, and the radiculopathy is going to be evaluated based on the symptoms. So your symptoms of radiculopathy dependent on if your degenerative disc disease is progressing
But my question is, what you just said, is the back 40 and the radiculopathy is not rated, and he's trying to get the radiculopathy rated? Can you answer, if you can hear, if you're on still with your question, who was that asked that question?
TNF.
TNF, if you're on there, are you asking to secondary your radiculopathy to your already service connected back? Yes or no? Because it kind of got jumbled.
Well, I mean, like, regardless, that's a common, like, VA will infer that. It's not even really something he has to expressively claim as long as he tells the examiner about it.
But what I'm saying is, there's no reason to, if his back's 40, leave it alone. The x-rays are, it doesn't matter. Why would you touch your back?
Well, I mean, regardless of what the evaluation for the back is, it doesn't matter how many discs that he has compressed in his back or whatnot. It's based on range of motion and limitation of motion. So that is how you're evaluated on the lumbar spine.
Right. And at
40%, are based on subjective and objective evidence of record. So,
and based on 40%, it's like, I think it's like, if I can remember correct, it's being a favorable position or some type of degree. It's a very high rating for the back.
If the back is 40%, I agree with you. I would leave that alone.
So
I really would.
What was it, THF? Or if you're hearing this, TNF, we're trying to answer your question. So if you can answer me back about your back, we'll come back to it. But I'm trying to find out if you're saying your back's 40% and you're trying to get radiculopathy secondary or what. If you could just give us a breakdown, and we'll move on to another question and see if he answers. I filed a claim for headaches 20 years ago and was denied, of
Oh, we
course.
just did this one.
No, this is a different person.
Oh, okay.
But it's the same question. I filed a claim for headaches 20 years ago and was denied, of course. I've recently become service connected for tinnitus. I'm preparing to file for migraine secondary to tinnitus. So, Chris, if you were just listening to us, will I file? It would be a supplemental, right, Jackie? Because it was previously denied and you have to provide new evidence now because it was filed 20 years ago.
Yeah, if that's the time frame, yeah, it would
Yeah.
most likely be best to do it as a supplemental claim with new evidence, new
Yeah.
relevant evidence. Yep.
So the answer is yes on the supplemental if you've ever been denied. Second, we just mentioned that most likely headaches to what Blake said to tinnitus secondary, not migraines. And we literally just said this, I think 5 minutes ago, that migraines, no, but headaches, yes, to tinnitus. So that's the route you're trying to look for. Chris, you need causation to show that the tinnitus is causing the headaches, and you need a current diagnosis of headaches. So anybody else want to add to that? Moving on. Next question. Miss RLTW. Hubby has Bell's palsy years ago and has since been service connected with anxiety. Can he file Bell's palsy as secondary?
No.
No. Go, Jackie. your head's
I'm thinking. You see the smoke coming out of my ears.
I see the hamster spinning in it.
Well, I mean, so guys, when you're sending us your questions, please do us a favor, be thorough and read it before you send it, and make sure that we have, to the best of your knowledge, all the information to answer your questions, because some of these questions tonight are just difficult to answer. And it's hard while we're doing a live to continue to solicit more details from you guys in real time. Chris, do you mind if you pop that back up and I'll get off my soapbox?
Pop it back up.
Okay, so the first thing that stands out to me, he had Bell's palsy a year ago. So one of the requirements of obtaining a VA disability rating would be having a current and chronic disability. So my first question would be, does your husband still have Bell's palsy? And is it, or does he have any residuals from it? I have
Statistically only 10% have long-lasting residuals.
Right. So I have seen it claimed secondary to mental health, because periods of intense stress and whatnot can also contribute to the etiology of it. But I'm unclear of the facts of the case based on what was submitted, to be honest.
That would be a case that you would need to discuss with your physician and document it every time. If he's having flares, when his anxiety flares, if he has recurring Bell palsy, then yeah, that's something that needs to be documented every time it happens. And that feeds into one of the questions later on. But it needs to be document, be seen. Even if when you go in to be seen, the doctor's going to look at you and go, "Oh yeah, you have Bell's palsy." Well, at least you get it in the record.
And this kind of being our theme tonight.
But
I think
to try to claim the Bell's palsy unless it is ongoing and current, it's like I said, 90% of them resolve within 6 to 9 months, and are not ongoing.
Yep. All right. So basically, Chris, you got your homework to do, and take the advice, heed here, and hopefully you're successful with your claim. If you got any other questions, please let us know. But we appreciate you coming on with your question, and everybody who's come on. And like Jackie said, guys, if you could, I know you want to get your question in there fast, and I know they only allow so many characters. So if you could kind of have part 1 and part 2, maybe copy paste it and then get it right back behind each other. But give us a thorough question. So, because then we're kind of just sitting here live time going,
speculating is not going to help anybody.
Right. So we're happy to help, but just if you can make your questions very thorough. So, all right, next question, Chris. Oh, Moonlight Adventures. Hey guys. So I'm 60% and currently going through an eval, hoping that my rating is raised to 100. We started the process in January and they still haven't gotten back. What is the normal timeline? I think they have a two-parter. Chris, there's two to them. Will they backdate anything? One thing they missed was my PTSD issues. It was originally diagnosed as adjustment disorder with anxiety, and the doc has said it should have been PTSD with TBI. Okay, well, a couple things here, guys. The 60%, we kind of need to know what, first of all, what does the 60% consist of? Like, are you rated for mental health currently? What is your 60% overall? And secondly, looking at if you're already, this makes me think, guys, that he's already rated. And Moonlight Adventures, if you can pop your answer in here, you already rated for mental health, because that's what it sounds like, that they're already rated for mental health based on the anxiety and saying it wasn't diagnosed correctly with PTSD, TDI. That's where my thought's going, is it's already rated. And you can only have one primary, mental health. So my thought process, if he is rated for it, and hopefully he'll answer us while we're on here, then he should be filing for an increase if it's gotten worse and provide that evidence. And Jackie, I mean, obviously, if there is PTSD, I mean, it could always be, the rating code could always be changed to the primary one, right? Or if you're already mental health, you just file for the increase and then just go.
Yeah. So yeah, the only difference is on considerations for service connection between PTSD and then other mental health conditions. So if you are already service connected for a mental health condition, okay, so with anxiety, so if you were already service connected for adjustment disorder with anxiety, your rating's not going to change based on the PTSD. They're just going to change, maybe the diagnostic code associated with your disability. And then if you meet, and don't forget with PTSD, there needs to be some sort of stressor verification to corroborate that.
Right.
All right. So with that being said, unless like your disability has worsened, you could expect it to stay the same. The only other thing that you mentioned was maybe like a TBI. So, a TBI can throw like a wrench into it just a little bit. A lot of times we'll see TBI combined with mental health because there's so many overlapping symptoms that are similar that we don't want to do what the VA calls pyramid. And that is evaluating the same manifestations under different diagnoses. So it's because there's so much overlap with TBI and mental health, generally, that we'll see that the examiners will put something like, they're unable to delineate the symptoms between the two diagnoses, or they can only do it with speculation. So that's why you see mental health and TBI combined so much. But
and with the mental health Moonlight Adventures, you're already rated. So you could just file for an increase if it's gotten worse and you've got the medical records to provide for that. My problem, well, not my problem, Jackie, but he's rated for epilepsy.
Right. So like I was saying, we were talking about the TBI, right? So with the TBI, it'd be interesting to see, because some severe TBIs can result in epilepsy and behavior changes and whatnot. So like mental health and whatnot. So it would really depend. I would be interested to see
and what
would be that TBI determination. Like if you have claimed it, I mean, TBI in itself can have other conditions that could be evaluated separately as residuals.
Right. Go ahead, Blake.
And going back to the first part of this question about how long does it take? Every claim takes a different amount of time depending on the complexity of the claim. From what we're seeing here and what Jackie's already pointed out, there is some tremendous complexity here between your epilepsy, your TBI,
mental health,
your mental health, all of those. That is a knot that has to be untied so that you can be rated separately for all of it.
And I'm going to throw a caveat out there on that. So it's not necessarily complexity. what would perhaps hold it out is that if you had claimed the TBI, that it would need to go to a specialized processor who has the training and expertise to rate something complicated like TBI. So it wouldn't necessarily be the complexity. It would be waiting for that person who can evaluate it. Additionally, because, again, not necessarily because of the complexity, but because it is a complex condition, and the VA, so TBI is like, just like MST, ALS, those special issue things that the VA pays a lot of attention to, they require certain types of medical opinions and certain types of considerations. So sometimes, unfortunately, even though the examiners are trained, they may not provide the proper opinions. And unfortunately, that's generally where you see the holdup, that they're waiting to get that required information.
And the other thing, because we've got a lot of questions, but the other thing, so Moonlight Adventures, I know we know each other and everything. If you want, send your disability list to our email address. There's an email address. Redact your personal information. Tell me what you're currently having claims pending for, whether they're increases, new, what's going on. Let me take a look at that along with the team, and then get back to you and give you some more feedback in regards to what's going on with that, because there's probably a lot more that's going on that we don't know just based on the couple statements you made right there. But I'm more than happy to dive into it and see what's going on for you and help you from there. So like I said, be sure to email them to us, and hopefully we can help you, because it does sound like you've got a lot of things going on right now. You've got pending claims and things like that. So, all right, next question. Havoc Street Kennels, HSK bullies. Ooh. I've seen claims of back pain, knee pain, etc. get rated and compensated, but no diagnosis or medical history documentation for it. Why is that?
I'm just going to jump on it.
Yeah, you jump on it.
If you have a diagnosis, one of the requirements for service connection is a diagnosis. So you may think that because you're not privy to their private information, that they don't have a diagnosis, but they do. Now, even if it's diagnosed as like a back strain or a knee pain, if there's pain and functional impairment, there is the ability to grant service connection for it. So I would say that would be like a wrong train of thought. It's a requirement for service connection that a diagnosis is present.
Okay.
So we can just go ahead and move on.
Next question.
One other thing on Moonlight Adventures, they ask you if they would backdate anything. No, it goes back to your first mental health diagnosis, not when.
Oh, we didn't even touch bases. Thank you, Blake, on that. Yeah, we totally missed that. Good catch, Blake.
It's your mental health diagnosis is a diagnosis, and you started your rating at that point.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah, just to touch on that, your effective date, Moonlight Adventures, is when you filed these new claims or increases. It won't go backdated to when you got the 60% when you got out. Good catch on that. I completely forgot that was in the question. Okay, next question. Lots of good ones today.
Facebook user.
Sorry, I'm having all kinds of issues right now. So Blake has been asked for by name. He's getting popular.
Yes, I know. That was Jeff.
Yeah, there's one right above that one that was first.
All right, let's go with this one. Let's go with this one. Blake, maybe a question for you. Long history of reoccurring bronchitis that my nurse practitioner has documented as acute. When does acute become chronic for rating purposes? Ooh, good question.
Good question. Typically, and I believe it all is specified by number of recurrences annually. So, for example, I'll give you something that's not VA related. When I'm trying to get somebody's tonsils taken out, the insurance company wants to see 3 documented cases of strep within 12 months or 6 documented cases of pharyngitis and tonsillitis within 12 months. So I believe there's probably for bronchitis, if you look in the CFR, I'm not sure. I would ask our resident CFR expert, Jackie, on that. The number of occurrences and what actually defines an occurrence. Like I know for sinusitis, it has to be several months. For chronic sinusitis, several months of antibiotic therapy.
So when does it become acute? When does acute become chronic?
You know,
So
Just
generally,
depends.
VA defines a chronic. So a chronic condition
Mm-hmm.
would generally be defined a condition that persists for more than 6 months. However, we're talking about an acute condition that keeps happening, which is essentially the definition of chronic. So the CFR doesn't really define how many excavations or how many instances of sinusitis have to appear. So it's just really going to be on the evidence of record. So if you have a few instances of bronchitis a year and that's going on over like a year or two or whatnot, I would say that that would raise to the level of a chronic disability, even if it's a chronic acute disability, which is a complete oxymoron. But I mean, the nature of the disease or, you know, the manifestations of it would be, yes, acute manifestations, but you're having chronic manifestations. So that in turn would meet the VA requirement regardless.
So keeping with the theme of tonight, get seen for it every time it happens. Get it documented.
Yeah, excellent advice, Blake. Seriously, go.
Whether you know that what they're going to tell you or not.
Right.
Oh, they're just going to tell me it's bronchitis and to do this, this, and this. Well, okay, go in and still put it in the record.
Yep. Good question. That was a good question. Okay. Next question, Chris. Why does a claim take so long when you submit all the documents and they don't request a CMP exam? That's an open and loaded question. Well, claims take as long as they take to process, depending on how many claims you have submitted and if what you provided is accurate. And I think, pop that back up, Chris. I think what they said is that when you don't get a C and they don't request, well, typically, and Jackie, I guess you can answer on this, they don't request a CMP exam. Either the claim doesn't warrant one because there's not enough evidence, or there's good evidence that they don't need one. So, I mean, but again, it's...
Yeah. I mean, so the threshold for exam in a lot of circumstances is very low. They really err on the side of the veteran when they're ordering the examination. So, you know, you say that all the information was submitted, but I present to you the M21 and the 38 CFR, which may contradict that thought process. So, you know, without necessarily knowing what you're claiming or what medical records you submitted or, you know, any of the details of your case, I can only tell you from my experience, if they're not ordering an exam, there's something that is prohibiting them from doing it. And it's something big enough to overcome that low threshold for exam.
Yeah.
And again, on the, you know, thinking that you've sent them all the documents, Jackie's already put that example out there tonight. You know, when you when a lot of you write the questions in for us, you think you've given us everything we need to know. And there are holes in it. We sit here and pick those holes out. Somewhere there may be a rater that's doing the exact same thing, and that CMP may get ordered, but it just hasn't as of yet.
Right. So I mean, and claims are backlogged right now. I mean, that is what it is, you know.
They're actually cutting down on the backlog because they did that huge hiring push and whatnot. But you know, it just depends. It depends. Did you claim it to BBA? Is it an appeal? Did you send them all the records? Do they need to develop for records? Right. What lane? what lane did you go in for your claim? Like where do you live? Because some areas are backed up for exams, where other areas they'll call you within 2 weeks and get you in and out. There's so many mitigating factors when it comes to how long your claim will take. We address it again and again, and we actually don't even approve those posts on the Facebook page anymore because it is, pinned. We don't know. There's too many mitigating factors. Who knows?
All right, moving on. Next question. I've got a question about sleep apnea. I never had a sleep study in service, but on my exit paperwork, I did tell them I was having issues sleeping. With a good Nexus, can that be service connected? Sleeping issues is not sleep apnea, but go ahead, guys. Throw it out there.
Can we hear from Jack? Oh, no, we can't hear from Jackie.
Hold on. So she went out in their zone on sleep apnea.
Oh, that's funny.
That's what she does when she's got nothing.
We're just going
to
to mute Jackie's microphone.
So basically, no, I mean, just because you noted sleep issues on your exit doesn't mean you had sleep apnea. They're not the same. Go ahead, Blake, give your medical, because I know Jackie's dying to say something.
Yeah, if it's not in your records, if you just said you had trouble sleeping and sleep apnea are two entirely different things until you have a sleep study and it's documented.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. So like, if you see like sleep issues in service, VA does crazy stuff. Sometimes it just depends on the examiner and maybe the examination, the history, and all that stuff. So I'm not saying it's impossible,
but if you have
given that information
rated, it goes towards that.
Yeah. So obviously, I mean, it's possible. If you want to claim it, claim it. The worst the VA can say is no. All right. But
I'm not.
There's, a diagnosis of sleep apnea requires diagnostic testing. So, just snoring during active duty service or having sleep issues is not always indicative of having sleep apnea. So, you can claim it and see what happens, but if it gets denied, I would not be surprised. If it got granted, I wouldn't be surprised, because that's where we are right now with the sleep apnea and the bat crap crazy etiologies that all the veterans come up with. And that's all I will say.
All right, next question. Seymour Beasy. I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia and IBS outside of DX. Does the presumption proof of Southwest Asia DD214? What else will help with fully developed claim? Example, pain logs and IBS logs.
So under 38 CFR 3.317, the Gulf War, the undiagnosed illnesses, the MUCMEs, right? I'm so sorry, Chris. Can you pop that up again? I'm like a squirrel tonight. So you have
got the presumption.
Southwest Asia on your DD214. So if you in fact meet the diagnostic criteria of those diseases, they would be
presumptive.
So yeah, if you want to put pain logs and IBS logs and stuff, that could absolutely help you support what you think the severity of your disease is. With IBS, a lot of it's subjective, and also with fibromyalgia, a lot of it is subjective. But, just note, VA has their own diagnostic criteria that the veteran must meet for, especially with fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome. So although sometimes veterans see private physicians that will diagnose these conditions, because they're most often, and I think Blake could probably speak a little more intelligently on this than I could, they're often diseases diagnosed as a process of exclusion. There's still diagnostic criteria that the VA requires that the veteran must meet before they can be service connected. So sometimes we see the veterans having a diagnosis coming in, but they don't meet the diagnostic criteria that VA mandates they must meet to have that.
And that diagnostic criteria is in the CFR.
Well, and presumptive, that simply means that the VA concedes you were in the area. So yes, you still have your homework to do. You still have to have, again, you still have to have the current chronic disability that's right?
Well,
At least 6 months.
So Gulf War gets really, really confusing and really murky really fast. So IBS, fibromyalgia, and chronic fatigue syndrome are indeed presumptive. So if you have the service, you have a diagnosis, there's no other evidence of a different etiology in the record, they can be granted on a presumptive basis.
Okay.
Like without that nexus.
That's what I said. The VA is just conceding they were there, but they still have to have the diagnosis.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you were like saying that they need it. My bad.
No,
Okay,
the VA is conceding. She just needs the current diagnosis. If she's already got that presumptive, she's got one issue. As long as it's chronic and has it. I've seen veterans where they just assume because it's presumptive and they have nothing and they file. You got to have the chronic disabling at least 6 months to have it. So it sounds like you see more breezy, you've got it. So if you've got those, then file it as under presumptive and go from there. All right, next question. If service connected for Parkinsonism, can a person who has ileostomy,
That's ileostomy.
they have to replace the bag and shave around the hole? Can the condition that caused the bag be linked to Parkinsonism due to danger in cutting?
Oh, that's interesting.
That's interesting. I've never heard this question.
So
I'm going to
Okay,
say.
so what is this? Could somebody medical, Blake, what is
An
this?
ileostomy is where they go in and they take the ileum and pull it out through the side of the body, and basically you crap into a bag.
Oh, a colostomy bag?
It's like a colostomy, but the colostomy is your colon. The ileostomy is the ileum, which is the upper part of the small intestine.
Okay.
So the Parkinson is.
Oh, she says severe shaking, not shaving.
Oh.
Put that back up.
Okay.
That makes sense.
All right.
Okay.
Pop it up one more time, Chris.
So replace that with shaking.
So sometimes with Parkinson's disease and Parkinsonism, it can cause digestive issues for sure. But I think
No, the answer, I don't think they can connect the two.
Right. But it can cause issues. So I would want to know the etiology that caused
why she has the ostomy.
She says Parkinson-like symptoms.
Yeah. So
can't care for the bag.
So that would, if you can't care for the bag, you're not going to get service connected for the bag. However, you may qualify for additional compensation via
caregiver,
aid and attendant. So especially when we see Parkinson's patients or Parkinsonism patients that as their disease progresses and it becomes more severe and they require more care. And as you know, well, that's caregivers through the VHA though. I'm talking about aid and attendants. That's through the VBA. You can get those higher level of SMCs to assist care dependent on how much care that the veteran needs.
Can you get both? See, that's where I'm really lost in this. Can you have aid and attendants and caregiver, or is it either or?
I think you know what? I'm not going to even pretend to know because that's a VHA program. I think you can get both, but I think there's some stipulations that may affect the money for the caregiver program.
What you're saying is the caregiver programs through the VHA. The aid and attendance is through the VBA.
Yeah.
Right, because think of aid and attendance. So the aid and attendance is not paid to the caregiver. The aid and attendance is paid to the veteran.
To the veteran.
The VHA program for caregivers, that stipend is paid to the caregiver.
You could have both.
So I think you could have both. I think there are very rare stipulations when you get into those way higher levels of SMC that we see with like SMC R or higher for those higher levels of care. I think there may be a caveat which may affect a little bit of the money, but don't quote me on that.
I'm so glad because I learn stuff every day too, because it's not about, oh, I know everything, blah, blah, blah. But I just learned something too. So the aid and attendance of the caregiver. So it's very possible because the veteran could get aid attendance and the spouse or caregiver or family or whatever could get caregiver to take care of the spouse. I mean, to take care of the veteran.
Yep.
Oh,
So-
that's very interesting. Okay. All right. So back to her question, the bag in of itself can't be, but maybe there's some options for you, Millie, regarding aid and attendance and or caregiver. And if you want some more information on that, Millie, email me and I'll get with Jackie and maybe we can give you a little bit more information on the two programs. I think I've got some stuff too, but I'll confirm with Jackie before I send it.
Yeah.
Just email us.
Millie, make sure, because I just saw your note in the chat. Make sure you tell us what the percentage is, what he's currently service connected for, and all that jazz, and maybe can give us a brief description of the symptoms that he's having and whatnot, just so we can kind of get a good idea of the whole evidentiary record there, huh?
Well, she's saying this guy cuts himself due to caring for bag, and yes, you can because spouse gets money. Yeah, so the spouse is already probably getting the caregiver money. But what we're telling you, Millie, is it's possible.
She said she can't get caregiver because his rating isn't high enough. That's why I'm interested to see what the rating is for and what he's service connected for. That would be really helpful.
She said he got 40 today. All right. So Millie, do that for us. Go ahead and email us with the information and let us try and guide you and help you a little more through email and see if we can connect the dots and see what's missing and then provide additional information and go from there. We got a lot of questions. All right, we got a half an hour. All right, next question. I have a pending legacy claim from 50%. I have a new claim pending. Can the new claims award TDIU before the legacy? I'm at 80% now. Well, yes.
Let me just knock it out, Steph.
Go ahead.
Yes, they can. But because you have a legacy appeal continuously pursued since 2015, 2016, if you meet the scheduler requirements, it's potential that they'll be able to back pay you further than that claim under the new
That's
thing.
what I was going to say.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
it depends on what the new claim is and the TDIU. But here's my thought.
What's decided first too.
Wait a minute. Something doesn't make sense here. I don't know if you caught that. Pop that back up, Chris. It says that 50%. So were you 50% in 2016 when you filed the appeal? Because TDIU requires you to be 70. So somewhere there's got to be at least a 70% unless they went extra scheduler, and I highly doubt it.
He says he's now at 80%. So he may have new claims also.
And he put in an appeal.
Yeah.
Higher,
okay, so he's got new claims, got him to 80. He filed for the TDIU. He's still got the legacy appeal. So Jackie is making a very good point to you, is that if it was potential to go back as scheduler to get you back to 100% back then, or anything above 50, that's substantial back pay. But again, and also if you were to go back to 100% to 2016, then the TDIU is moot because you don't need it. So you got a lot of balls in the courts right now. So you still got your legacy pending and you've got this pending. So the answer is yes, that potentially it could go back to that. But if it doesn't, then you've gotten the TDIU and you go on with that. All right. Yes. All right. Next question. I have 100% IU and hypertension and sleep apnea claim was denied, but my CMP exams diagnosed me. And I also had Nexuses, but was denied. In my letter, it didn't show in the evidence that it was even looked at. I plan on doing HLR, but can they take away my IU award from me appealing? All right. I got a couple of things and then you guys can come in and leave this up here, Chris. So first of all, I would need to see the decision, in my opinion, to look at this, because I would want to see the evidence section of this decision as to what you're stating was not in your evidence portion for the denials for hypertension and sleep apnea. Second of all, you're being paid at 100%. And yes, you are playing, well, you are asking, basically, I see what you're going with this, is you're wanting to be 100% and remove the IU. So IU is given to you because you're telling the VA that you weren't able to work. You got it granted. So you're collecting 100%, but you're still retained, which is another issue. Are you 70, 80, or 90 currently? Because if you're 70, hypertension and sleep apnea is not going to get you to 100%. 80, 90, I don't know. So there's a lot of things missing out of this, in my opinion. We don't know what the overall rating is currently. We don't know what evidence, because we're not looking at the decision that denied him in the evidence section.
73.
Yeah. 70 for mental health, 10. So you're that right there tells me I think you need another 70 or 80% just off the top of my head. And sleep apnea is 50. Huh?
I said I'll double check, but yeah, that's not going to bring the veteran to 100.
And
Most likely.
anytime you do open up claims, you do subject anything to being evaluated, but I highly doubt sleep apnea, even hypertension, even if it was granted at a 73, is going to get them to 95. I remember correctly.
Hypertension will be lucky to get service connected and 0.
Right. And sleep
And
apnea
that's
is
what it
50.
is, yeah.
So
Also,
you may get up to 90.
the other thing that we don't have here is we don't have what his Nexus has said, what the Nexus says.
Right.
Which
But
if he bought and paid for a Nexus, there's a 95% chance it's a cut and paste.
But I'm just going to put it out there. I'm just going to say this. If your goal is to get to 100% Facebook user at 73 and you're going with hypertension and sleep apnea, even if you get those two, you will still not be 100% scheduler. And unless hypertension gets rated high. And like another person just said, hypertension is usually 0 unless history.
So I'll just add, again, to quickly address, because I know we have a lot of questions, but VA in trying to reduce you, it is a pain in the ass to reduce veterans, all right? It is more work, takes more time, and nobody wants to do it. If you get reduced, it's because it was warranted, okay? If you are already granted IU, they're not going to be looking to take it away from you unless there's a clear and unmistakable error or evidence of the record, perhaps suggests that you're either working or that there's something that would render you employable. Okay. So when you claim these other issues, they're not looking to take it away. They're not looking to take it away from you. So, of course, like veterans weigh their options when they're putting in the claims, but I don't think if you are seriously unemployable and you haven't been working and you meet the criteria, then what are you worried about? Because the standard to take away the IU would be so high. It can't just be based on nothing. There has to be evidence of record. So if you legitimately meet the requirement for that entitlement, then you have nothing to worry about. Put the claims in.
But his goal is to get hypertension. It should be 10. Okay. Again, even if you get a hypertension at 10 and you get sleep apnea at 50,
It doesn't matter.
It does. All I'm saying is his goal is to get to 100. I know where he's going with this. The goal is to get to 100.
Well, I just want to say, because he said that his CMP readings are all in the 160s. So guess what? VA knows you all stop taking your medication when you go to your exams. That's why the CFR says the predominant blood pressure reading. So guess what VA does? They go through all your medical records, your private treatment records, your VA treatment records, your government treatment records. They will look up all those numbers and they will determine what the predominant disability or blood pressure number is. And it generally differs greatly from what's at the CMP exam, whether it be due to white coat syndrome or veterans not taking their medication. One day with 3 blood pressure readings is not going to overcome all the evidence of record. Just saying.
And like I said, you can fight for what you deserve at the end of the day. If you deserve to be rated for them, go for it. But I'm just trying to explain those two's not going to get you to scheduler. That's all I was trying to explain. So, but if you want us to help Facebook user and you want us to look at the denial, with the evidence not used, going back to your HLR, the HLR is only going to review to see if there's any duty to assist errors. If there was any errors in the claim that was previously denied, if there's no errors, the HLR is going to continue the denial. So, all right, let's move on. We've got other questions.
No,
You already answered this one.
This next one. Jeff Connors.
I have a pending. We already got that one.
Jeff Connors.
I was just diagnosed by my VA doc with chronic kidney disease due to high lab numbers. Could this be presumptive under the PACT Act? Anybody got an answer to that one?
Yeah. Give me 1 second.
Okay. Because I'm
So-
not familiar.
Asthma, bronchitis, or nope. So it's not presumptive under PACT Act, okay? However, if you have been deployed or dependent on your occupational exposures, they can consider that under the TARA or, the toxic exposure type thing, but it is not like a presumptive condition. They can consider it under the PACT Act. It's not like an automatic give me. It actually requires a positive medical opinion to service connected.
And Jackie, correct me if I'm wrong, and I may be. Chronic kidney disease is kind of like, say, neuromuscular disease. There's a lot of things that fall under that. Don't they need a more defined answer than just chronic kidney disease?
So
Chronic pyelonephritis, chronic,
So there would most likely need to be some sort of etiology determined there. Absolutely. Like, I'm trying to think. So, certain disease processes cause it. We know diabetes is a common cause of it. So without
lupus,
knowing what exposures the veteran had or what they're currently service connected for, it's kind of hard to just kind of guess, but it's not a presumptive under
But Tara, yes. But Tara,
so even like Veterans Advocate did, yes, chronic kidney disease is a diagnosed condition that can be related to service, but like a lot of times it's related to something else. So
exposure.
without seeing the whole evidentiary record and what exposures the veteran was exposed to, makes it kind of difficult to guess. But
okay. All right, next question. Charles Chadbourne submitted intent to file in June, had tinnitus claim with Nexus and diagnosis ready to file. No secondaries ready at this time. Will have another claim for sciatic ready to file sometime in the next few months after treatment is finished. Do I have to submit another intent to file when I submit for sciatic and secondaries, or just file them within a year from June? If you have an ITF, go ahead.
I'll just grab it real quick. So if you're planning on filing those two different disabilities, you have 1 year from the date of the intent to file those claims on the same day. Even if they're two different forms, if you file them on the same day, you'll be able to use that ITF for both. If you file that ITF and only claim one condition, that ITF is done. It can only be applied to that one claim. You'll have to file another ITF for the other conditions. So if you wait until you have all your evidence for both, if you file both on the same day, even if it's different forms, the VA will accept.
Because they were filed on the same day.
Yep, absolutely.
But if I know you're ready to go and get the tinnitus done, but you might as well just wait and file it all together, because tinnitus is 10% and it's still going to have the effective date. So just wait and file everything under the ITF all at once and then file. Now, if you do go and file and a few weeks down the road, you've got others, start another. My philosophy is file under the ITF and then wait about a week and start a new one. Because now you filed under that, it's become a claim. Put a new one in place. Now that sets you for the following year for anything else you need to file. And then let those claims.
But
As
if you,
long
want-
as the
if you want it
ITF,
all to count back to June, you need to file them together.
Correct.
as long as that ITF is received the day after you submit the claim, that applies that ITF, you're good. You don't have
That's
to
why I
wait.
said a week. Like,
Yeah,
wait like
you can
a
do
week.
the day after, and
Yeah.
it'll be fine.
Yeah. Like, but some people wait till their 364 day of the ITF. And then they're like, oh, wait a minute. What happened? You know?
Yeah.
You kind of never wait too long. And even when you go to file on the ITF, don't wait till the last minute. File a few weeks prior or a month prior to it ending, just to be safe. You know, you never know. So
All
We
right,
done?
Blake, you're always checking me on this. Have we got everybody? I think we've
Think
run
so.
through all the questions.
I think we got them all.
that's a lot
So
of questions.
You're welcome, Charlie. Hope that helps.
So
Some housekeeping notes, guys. Again, VACVHV@gmail.com. The whole team will look at it. We'll get you answers. Some people, like I said, we just need a lot more information than you can probably want to type out or give here. So use that email to get us the information. Just redact personal info.
And if you're not in our Facebook group, join our Facebook group. If you're not subscribed to our YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube. You can watch these live over again. They're recorded. They're there, so you can go watch them at your leisure. There is a question for you, Blake, from Jeff.
Hold on,
He
we're going
says,
to throw Jeff B up there. He's asking for Blake again specifically. He's coming to Rockstar.
on my PACT
Now-
Act claim for asthma, my chest CT shows ground glass
Capacities.
opacities, sandstorms, maybe.
Probably not.
Jackie's shaking her head.
Ground glass. I'm having to reach back. That usually deals with.
Oh, that's what I want to mention.
Asbestos.
Yeah, it's some of the other.
Well, you know, you can be service connected on a presumptive basis for Gulf
Right.
War for the granulomatous. Am I saying it right, Blake?
For
You know, when
With,
those granular things
storms,
appear in
define
the bottom of the lungs, that can be service connected.
granulomas.
Yes, that's it. Yep, that can be, but
Yeah.
that doesn't sound like the same thing.
Yeah, well, ground glass usually means that at some point in time you've been exposed to a chemical of something.
He did ask.
Burn pits, some of those things. I'm trying to think back. I haven't seen it in a long time, but there are a couple of specific conditions that it goes with. But yeah, I would say that it more than likely falls under exposure, but not sandstorms. More than likely, it's going to be burn if you were around the burn pits or some other type of exposure.
We did,
how far back you go.
Chris, we did forget USMC Big Boy. He did post that earlier. Can you just pop that up? His dad has Parkinson, and apparently he's got a CMP exam. He's just asking for any last minute advice to give his Vietnam dad.
Was
any advice.
he a Vietnam vet?
Maybe
Guam,
not. I thought I read it, but he says
Thailand, Korea.
Well, he says he's 78. He was in the Navy, and when he was 18 to 22, and then went to the Army Reserves and FAA. Any last minute advice for the exam for Parkinson's? I don't know anything.
If he's 78, that puts him right in the middle of Vietnam.
Right. That's what I'm asking.
Not far enough back for Korea.
Listen, Veterans Advocate, I
Rick,
will send you your dang cookies. Thank you for the help tonight. Much
What, Chris?
Can anybody go in there with him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Not
that's
an
what-
attorney,
But they can't be recorded or anything funky
Right.
like that.
but that's not what he
what I'm
asked.
saying, like someone could go with him if he needs that support to help with the CMP.
Well, yeah,
someone
especially
go
with
with-
Parkinson's. Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
right.
But
So
that's
if he
what I
can
was
have help, they can
asking.
go.
So he was
That's-
in around 68 years old. Or 68 years ago. So no Guam, no Korea, no Vietnam, no Thailand, no
And that was
C-130s, no
World War II.
He
nothing.
was
Never
early
went to
Vietnam,
Vietnam.
never went to
oh,
Vietnam.
never went. All right.
So why does he think that the Parkinson's was caused by his service? What was he
Right.
exposed to?
So that's the question, Big B. It's a telehealth. Oh, so he's not going anywhere. He's got to show what causes Parkinson if he was never over in Vietnam. If he was just in the air, then what's causing it? What, something on the ship? I don't know.
Well, or if he handled Agent Orange in the States.
That's a big shipborne
Right.
hazards. Like what?
That's Millie.
Ship hazards. He was at
That's
the Bay of
going to
Pigs.
be, that's going to be a lot to overcome.
Yeah, he's not gonna get it for Bay of Pigs. There were no
You don't
chemicals.
smoke from the ship.
No,
That's going to be a lot to overcome.
it's
Yeah.
gonna be tough, Big B. But why don't you do this? Report back and let us how since it's telehealth. At least he's at home, so that's a good thing. He doesn't have to go actually into the facility. He can do it there.
Yeah, with the telehealth, I would suggest just make sure. I mean, with the issue of service connection, that's but I mean, just make sure that if he's not able to articulate and share all of his symptoms and whatnot, you know, with Parkinson's disease, they realize that caretakers in the
Here's a twist.
Yeah, but that Lejeune part, taking in the water in Lejeune, that's a class action lawsuit. That's the CLJA.
So was he stationed in the Camp Lejeune area for more than 30 days?
And in the periods of 1951, I believe it is, to 1987. And that is actually a lawsuit, Big B, too, where if he was...
Parkinson's disease is not a presumptive of Camp Lejeune.
No, it's not. The water toxins are.
And but I mean, it can still be considered under PACT Act, but it's...
But what I'm trying to explain to him is there's a whole nother element to the CLJA, which is the Camp Lejeune Justice Act that was passed through the PACT Act.
VBA benefits.
That's what I'm trying to explain to him. That if he did have the exposure to the water toxins in Camp Lejeune and he was in that time frame and he was there for 30 days, then he should seek out an attorney that's handling that through the federal courts for that. Nothing to do with the VBA.
Yeah.
That's where I was going with that. However, going back to his Parkinson's, he's saying he was just diagnosed this year. No, but his ship took water in at Lejeune, which he would have had for a few months. This is all really.
This is on the fringe of things. Like
This is a big stretch.
We've got one more thing to pop up that I think, Jackie, we would like to hear your answer, and then we got to bounce. But Big B, just keep us updated since it's telehealth. Since it's televideo, it should be pretty simple. They're probably just going to ask them questions. Report back to us if you want to email me. Let me know, and I'll share it with the team, and we'll get back to you and help you the best we can. Can you punch? He got punished and had to chip paint at the top of the smoke. Okay.
No,
So just email us. Can you push up? Can you put up those codes? These are floating around, Jackie. These codes. You just had it up, Chris. There you go. What are all these codes floating around that people are all of a sudden seeing, like internal requests, like 356, 719?
Honestly, VA is changing everything right now so much with updates and
I was just wondering if you knew.
And whatnot. So generally, like a 3-digit code would indicate to me that it's some sort of request made from a RO or something, a 4-letter request. I'm really not sure. We've been seeing them pop up, and I've been seeing veterans note them, but your guess is as good as mine. I do know, like, when it says a request was made by a 3-digit code, that's generally going to be the 3-digit code that's associated with the VA that made the request. Those 4-digit codes, I honestly have no idea. I have not heard anything, or nobody who knows things has shared anything with me. Maybe Veterans Advocate could, if he's still on.
Still on. I think he left,
but anything, he might have logged off.
Maybe we could reach out to him. But it's just been going around a lot, like all these, but they're all on the internal,
Right. So that's why I'm saying, like, the 3-digit codes, those are usually assigned for like ROs. So I think
Yeah.
it's more like what RO is making the request. Now, those 4-digit codes, I got to be honest with you, I don't know. But I do know they have done tons of updates to their internal systems lately because they are constantly pushing out new things. So they're supposed to be helping them better evaluate and more quickly evaluate like conditions and whatnot. I know that they're pending like some new changes like stupid stuff like IBS is and GERD are finally going to get their own diagnostic code and criteria instead of being evaluated with irritable colon syndrome and hiatal hernias. And yeah, they're just doing an awful lot right now, especially in VBMS,
Yeah.
which is their system with all the evidence and whatnot. So if I hear something, I will most certainly share it with you and you can push it out. But
Okay.
I haven't heard.
We got one more question, guys. We can sneak it in here.
Okay. What if you had a CMP with no measurements, meaning probably not using the goniometer, but got service connected and asked for another exam that received a higher rating, but not the old effective date? So what I think this Facebook user is saying is the measurement was not used, and they went keep it back up. They went to the first exam, it wasn't used, but got service connected. They asked for another exam that received. So you must have gone and asked for an increase down the road, is what I'm thinking. Because if you got service, unless you appealed it, there's a lot of missing information here.
Right.
Well,
I can tell you what happened in my case. I had the exact same thing happen.
Okay.
I got rated for one thing that made my condition look unilateral. I immediately asked for a new exam. Got it within 30 days. Within 15 days was rated higher. Did not give me a new effective date. It was the difference between 90 and 100% for 5 months. You have to appeal it, and it will go to the judge, and that takes a couple of years.
yeah, I would agree with Blake on that. So unfortunately, because the VA examiners, like so at the VHA and then the contractors, they're supposed to use those measurements. So if they don't use them, they know they're supposed to use them. They're required by law to use them. So if you say they don't, it's not that they don't take that into consideration. It's that essentially the examiner is saying they did. So we have a conflict there. So oftentimes, like Blake said, if you can't get it on the higher level appeal, which they usually won't, because if you apply for that increase, they're going to make it the date of the increase, right?
Okay, go to the
The
judge.
best thing to do is to go to the Board of Veterans Appeals.
Yes.
I agree.
Agree. All right.
Woo. All right, guys.
All right.
Hour
So
and 52
guys,
minutes.
just a quick reminder. I know we've lost a lot of people, but I'm going to put it on the video anyways. Our next one will be October 25th. So we're going to wait a few weeks because we have a long month. So we're going to spread it out. So our next live Q&A will be October 25th. All right, guys. Well, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, team. We appreciate you guys.
I've already got a ton of emails, so I'll be getting at you guys.
Everyone have a great evening.
Yes. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to y'all later.
Take care.
Okay, bye.